Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to these reflections on the 29th of November 2025. I hope you are well wherever you are tuning into this from. And before I go any further, I would like to send my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to all of the people who have lost loved ones in Aceh, Sumatra, and also Sri Lanka, where there have been terrible floods. We pray that Allah sends help and support to all of those who need it, and that the floods stop, and that people can begin rebuilding. It's traumatic and a horrible thing to witness. And my heart goes out to everyone who is suffering as a result of this. Today, we're going to continue with our study from the life and leadership lessons from Surah al-Kahf, based on this book by Professor Dr Hassan Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. And we're going to page 131 in the book, where we're going to discuss the story of Musa, that's Moses, and al-Khidr, the green man, peace and blessings be upon them. Among the most enigmatic and spiritually rich narratives in the Quran is the story of the Prophet Musa and the mysterious figure known as Khidr. This journey is not merely an account of events, but a deep lesson in humility, divine wisdom, and the limits of human understanding. It unfolds as a spiritual quest, where the prophet of law and revelation becomes a seeker in the presence of a hidden servant of Allah, one whose knowledge flows from a realm beyond intellect and reason. Through seemingly paradoxical actions and divinely inspired insight, this story invites every reader to reflect on the unseen dimensions of Allah's decree, the beauty of patience, and the trust required when walking paths lit only by faith. Now let us explore their story first, verse by verse. Verse 60. And remember when Musa, Moses, said to his young companion, I shall not stop until I reach the junction of two seas, even if I keep traveling for ages. Musa's declaration of his unwavering resolve to reach the junction of the two seas reveals the depth of his commitment to seeking divine wisdom. His willingness to journey, even if it takes ages, embodies the relentless pursuit of truth and enlightenment that define the true seeker. This moment highlights the balance between human determination and reliance on divine guidance. Musa's journey is not merely geographical, but it is also deeply spiritual, symbolizing the trials and persistence required to attain profound understanding. This is actually something which we don't just see in this verse in the Quran, but within the Hajj itself. And also there's many pilgrimages that you find in different religious traditions, such as the pilgrimage to Lhasa and the various Christian pilgrimages. And all of these religious journeys, they have this dimension of an outer and an inner journey. So that the outer journey, the struggles that people are encountering on the road, are mirroring the struggles that are actually happening within the human being themselves, in their inner universe, in their inner reality. And notice, knowledge often comes through struggle. Knowledge and understanding. Even today, people they travel around the world to study in universities in other countries, or to go on some research journey where they have to not only have the struggle of the study and the research and whatever they're doing, but also the actual struggle of going to another part of the world, to living in another environment, living in a country they speak a different language, or where the climatic conditions might be more difficult. Think of people who do like research in the Antarctic or in the jungles, which they're not familiar with that kind of climate. And that brings many difficulties with which they're not normally accustomed. True leadership requires a relentless pursuit of knowledge and clarity. A leader must be prepared to endure hardships, transcending both physical and emotional barriers to reach the goals that inspire and uplift their followers. Musa was accompanied by one of his followers, Yusha bin Nun. This shows Musa's resolve that great achievements arise from an unyielding commitment to purpose, regardless of the length or difficulty of the journey. Verse 61. So when they reached the location of the junction of the two seas, they forgot their fish, which made its way into the sea and swam away. When they reach the appointed location, they unknowingly forget the fish, which miraculously finds its way into the sea. The fish, an ordinary provision, becomes a divine sign, transforming into a symbol of life, renewal, and the unseen workings of Allah's will. This moment reflects how the extraordinary can often unfold within the ordinary. Unnoticed by these two preoccupied with worldly concerns. Unnoticed by those, i.e., people too preoccupied with worldly concerns. The verse underscores the importance of mindfulness and awareness. In a fast-paced pursuit of goals, it is easy to overlook the subtle signs of guidance and significance of what appears trivial. The escape of the fish reminds us that divine intervention often lies hidden in what we fail to notice, urging leaders to remain vigilant and receptive to unexpected developments. In moments of perceived loss or error, leaders must recognize that such events may hold profound lessons and opportunities. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the story from the Quran, they took a provision of fish along with them. The fish was food. Either they only took it as food. But this fish, where they were at the location where the two seas split, this fish escaped and went back into the sea. Now you think about that. You've got fish there as food, and it returns to life and jumps into the sea. And this was a sign that Musa was told to look for when he was on the journey to meet Khidr alayhi salam. And when they actually got to the location, both the Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his companion, they forgot. They didn't notice that the fish had escaped. Verse 62. But when they had gone further, he told his young companion, "Bring us our meal. Surely we have encountered much fatigue during this journey of ours." The journey takes its toll on Musa, and he requests his companion to prepare their meal, citing fatigue that they have encountered. This verse beautifully captures the human dimension of even the greatest leaders. Musa, despite his spiritual stature, experiences exhaustion and recognizes his need for physical sustenance. This serves as a reminder of the need to balance spiritual pursuits with physical needs. Leadership is a demanding journey, and effective leaders must prioritize their well-being to sustain their mission. Musa's acknowledgement of fatigue illustrates the importance of vulnerability and honesty, encouraging leaders to embrace their humanity while maintaining focus on their ultimate goals. Verse 63. He, the disciple, said, "Did you notice? When we rested at the rock, I forgot the fish there. And none but Satan made me forget to mention it to you." And it made its way into the sea, amazingly, after returning to life. Upon reflection, the disciple recalls forgetting the fish and attributes this lapse to Satan's influence, highlighting the human susceptibility to distractions. The fish's miraculous return to life and its escape into the sea amazes him, symbolizing the intersection of divine will and human error. This verse emphasizes humility and the acceptance of mistakes. Even the most devoted followers and companions can falter, but such moments provide opportunities for reflection and growth. The fish's escape symbolizes the idea that what may seem like an oversight can often lead to greater understanding. Leaders must cultivate an environment that allows learning from errors, recognizing that every misstep can unveil divine wisdom. Even my dad used to say that when I was younger. Try not to make mistakes, but if you do, always learn from your mistakes. Verse 64. Moses said, that's the place we're looking for. So they turned back and retracing their footsteps carefully. Realizing the significance of the lost fish, Musa and his companion retraced their steps with urgency. This action demonstrates humility in revisiting one's path when clarity emerges. It highlights the importance of acknowledging past oversights and correcting them without hesitation. This is a lesson in adaptability and course correction, progress that often requires looking back, reevaluating decisions, and retracing steps to align with a higher purpose. Musa's willingness to turn back demonstrates that true leadership is not about stubbornly forging ahead, but about embracing flexibility and humility in the pursuit of truth. Verse 65. They found a unique servant from among our servants, i.e., al-Khidr, whom we had granted special mercy from ourselves and whom we had taught special knowledge from our presence. At the junction, they encountered Khidr, a servant of Allah who is blessed with divine mercy and unique knowledge. Khidr embodies wisdom that transcends conventional understanding and serves as a guide capable of unveiling deeper truths. His presence signifies the culmination of Musa's search and the seeker's meeting with the guide. This verse underscores the value of mentorship and the pursuit of wisdom from those who possess unique insights. Leadership is not a solitary endeavor. It requires the humility to seek guidance and the wisdom to recognize those who can illuminate the path. Khidr's presence reminds leaders that the greatest treasures of understanding often lie in the company of those who are deeply connected to the divine. See, even a great prophet like Moses, he was humble. He was not too proud to go and seek counsel of someone who Allah said he'd given knowledge and the wisdom of which he hadn't given to anyone else. Also, from the Bible and from the Quran, you've got Musa's father-in-law, Shuaib, who's known as Jethro in English. And the same thing, he actually sought counsel from Jethro or Shuaib, depending on what you call him. And he benefited from the counsel of both of them. I mean, you can learn yourself on your own, but if you learn from someone else's missteps, someone else's mistakes, someone else's experience, it eases the journey. You can actually get to the destination much faster than you would otherwise. Verse 66. Moses said to him, "May I follow you, that you teach me some of the right guidance you have been taught, especially." Musa's humble request to follow Khidr and learn from him reflects his recognition of the vastness of divine knowledge. Despite being a prophet himself, Musa exemplifies the humility of a student, acknowledging that true wisdom is infinite. The hallmark of great leadership is the ability to remain a lifelong learner. Musa's approach teaches that no matter how elevated one's position, there is always more to learn. Leaders must actively seek out individuals who challenge their understanding and expand their perspectives, fostering a culture of growth and curiosity. Verse 67. Al-Khidr, said, "Indeed, you will not be able to be patient with me." Khidr's response which cautions Musa not being able to be patient, underscores the challenge of grasping divine wisdom, which often appears counterintuitive to human logic. This verse reflects the necessity of trust and patience when embarking on journeys of learning and growth. The verse serves as a reminder that not all decisions or outcomes will be immediately clear. Effective leadership involves embracing uncertainty and trusting in the process, even when the reasoning is not entirely understood. Patience is an essential quality that allows leaders to navigate ambiguity with resilience and faith. It is imperative to understand that Prophet Musa was a divinely appointed messenger of Almighty God, bound by the tenets of the Sharia in all situations. Consequently, Prophet Musa prohibited Khidr on several occasions when he perceived actions to be in contravention of the Sharia. An important point to consider here is when you are a student, you will not understand necessarily higher knowledge of things which you have not studied, which you have not any experience of, which you've not learned. When you're at that level, you will see many things which the student will not see initially, which early on the student doesn't even necessarily need to know. And so someone in that higher role, in that higher position, with a lot more experience and knowledge, will often make decisions that other people, even the student of them, will not necessarily understand. There's a Zen story that I've posted before, where this Buddhist master and his students were walking along a path from, I think, one monastery to another. But wherever they were going, they were walking along, and there was a muddy, flooded path. And this young lady was waiting there by this water. She couldn't cross. And without thinking about it, the master picked her up and carried her across and put her down and wished her well on her way. And the master and the student continued until they reached their destination. And then the student couldn't hold it in any longer and criticized the master and said, how could you do that? How could you pick her up and carry her across the water? We don't go anywhere near women. It's like, for them, it's like haram and sinful even to touch or have any contact with women. And the master, looking somewhat perplexed, turns back to him and says, what? Are you still carrying her? See, the master knew that in that situation, he had a responsibility to help and just did what he needed to do and left it. He was not even thinking of that woman anymore. But the student had been thinking about that woman the whole of the rest of the journey. The student didn't understand the aspect of the master's religion that he had to follow. But of course, when that student one day becomes a master, he would probably do the same thing. And the same applies to all sorts of situations. Verse 68. How could you be patient upon something you do not comprehend in knowledge? This verse reveals the human tendency to question and resist what cannot be fully grasped. It underscores the importance of trust and submission in the face of divine wisdom. This serves as a powerful reminder to acknowledge the limits of their understanding and to rely on the expertise of others. Leadership often involves making decisions based on insights that may not be immediately apparent to everyone. Trusting the process and allowing time for understanding to unfold are critical aspects of guiding others. Verse 69. He, Moses, said, if Allah pleases, you will find me patient, and I will not violate any of your instructions. Musa's pledge of patience and obedience demonstrates his determination and humility. Despite the forewarning of challenges, he commits himself to the journey, seeking divine favor to uphold his promise. This verse highlights the importance of resolve and willingness to persevere through obstacles. Leadership requires a commitment to patience, discipline, and adherence to guidance, even amidst uncertainty. Musa's reliance on divine will reflects the need for leaders to derive strength from higher principles in fulfilling their responsibilities. Also, it reflects the importance of having a go and trying, not being put off by initial rebuffs or obstacles or disappointments. The ones who are successful are the ones who continue and don't give up. Verse 70, he, al-Khidr, said, if you follow me, then do not question me about anything until I mention it to you myself. Khidr sets a condition. Musa must refrain from questioning until the explanations are provided. So Khidr, he actually already promised that he would explain, but he's not going to explain until he's ready. And Musa shouldn't question him before that. That was his one condition. This stipulation reflects the necessity of trust and surrender in the learning process. It teaches that understanding often requires time and perspective, and premature judgments can hinder growth. This verse underscores the importance of patience and restraint for leaders. Leadership involves allowing processes to unfold naturally and resisting the urge to question or intervene prematurely. Trusting the wisdom of mentors and advisors enables leaders to gain deeper insights and achieve greater successful outcomes. Now, this is another point as well, because Khidr alayhi salam probably wanted to find the right moment, because maybe the explanation would need some depth. It's just like the finer points of fiqh. If you actually were to explain them, you would need an hour or two. You're not going to explain it in a 5-minute comment. And some people today, they ask questions about things and they expect a short, simple answer, when you cannot give a short, simple answer. It depends. Just like if you ask about any subject. So I can understand why Khidr would have said this. Verse 71. So they went on till they boarded the boat, and he, al-Khidr, made a hole in it. He, Moses, said, did you make a hole in it to drown its people? Surely you have done a grievous thing. When they boarded the boat, Khidr made a hole in it, an act that seemed destructive and unjustified. Musa immediately questioned him. This event highlights the difficulty of reconciling apparent harm. This is a lesson in suspending judgment and trusting the process. Not all actions or decisions will require their purpose immediately, and apparent setbacks may serve greater long-term benefits. Leaders must cultivate patience and a broader perspective, recognizing their challenges or losses often contain opportunities for growth and understanding. And again, this was the first instance where Moses, he couldn't hold himself back because it seemed wrong to him. He didn't have the wider perspective. He didn't see the bigger picture. And so he couldn't hold back. But remember, Khidr alayhi salam had come to him on a sort of a great recommendation. The recommendation came from a higher authority. He was highly recommended. And who was he recommended by? Only God himself. So similarly, I mean, if you are recommended to study under a teacher, a sheikh, or a professor, and that sheikh or a professor has been recommended by some high-level institution or someone who's highly acclaimed, then maybe when you're learning from that professor or sheikh, they may teach you something that you don't understand, but you have to be patient and let them explain what they're teaching, and not jump to conclusions or to condemn them. Verse 72, he, al-Khidr, said, did I not tell you that you will not be able to keep patience with me? This interaction underscores the need for trust when dealing with challenging matters. The lesson here is that the pursuit of wisdom requires surrendering preconceived notions and allowing time for clarity to emerge. This verse highlights the significance of humility and self-reflection. Leadership often entails navigating situations where the reasons behind actions are not immediately clear. A wise leader avoids hasty reactions and trusts the insights and experience of those with deeper understanding, more knowledge, and more experience. Verse 73. He, Moses, said, "Do not take me to task that I forgot, nor make me suffer much hardship on account of what I have done." Musa acknowledges his forgetfulness, asking for leniency and understanding. His willingness to admit his forgetfulness are exemplary traits of a true seeker. This moment highlights the importance of grace and forgiveness in relationships, especially when learning from a mentor or guide. This verse teaches the value of admitting errors. A leader's ability to demonstrate vulnerability and accountability fosters trust and strengthens relationships within their team. Musa's humility also reminds leaders to approach challenges with an open heart and a willingness to learn. Verse 74. So they traveled on until they came across a young boy. He, Khidr, killed him. He, Moses, said, I must have been very shocked. Yeah. Did you kill an innocent soul who has slain no other soul? Indeed, you have done a terrible thing. As they continued their journey, Khidr killed a boy, a seemingly shocking and incomprehensible act. Musa, due to his prophetic responsibilities, questioned the morality of such an action. This moment confronts the tension between divine wisdom and human understanding. This verse serves as a reminder that not all decisions align with surface level logic or societal expectations. True leadership often requires making challenging choices that may not be immediately understood or accepted by others. It emphasizes the need for leaders to balance moral courage with trust in a higher purpose, even when their actions are misunderstood or remain undisclosed. And of course, under normal circumstances, that would be a heinous crime. But Khidr alayhi salam was a special servant of God who had insights that went beyond what others would understand. Verse 75. He, al-Khidr, said, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to keep patient with me?" Khidr reiterates his earlier point. This moment reflects the challenging of accepting guidance when the path seems unclear or the actions taken appear contrary to reason. This serves as a lesson in respecting the expertise and wisdom of those they trust. Leadership requires acknowledging that not every decision will align with one's immediate perspective. The ability to defer judgment and maintain faith in the process is crucial for navigating complex situations. Verse 76. He, Moses, said, "If I question you about anything after this," sorry, Moses said, "If I question you about anything after this, do not keep me in your company. You have already received sufficient excuse on my part." Musa, recognizing his own limitations, offers Khidr an assurance. If he fails to exercise patience again, he will not seek to accompany him further. This moment reveals the humility of a leader who understands their own shortcomings and is willing to take responsibility for their actions. This verse highlights the importance of self-awareness and accountability for leaders. Effective leadership requires reorganizing one's limits and being willing to step back when necessary. Musa's promise reflects the significance of establishing boundaries and respecting the conditions of mentorship and guidance. Verse 77. So they moved on until they came to a people of a town. They asked its people for food, and they refused to show them any hospitality. There they found a wall which was about to collapse. So he, al-Khidr, erected it. He, Moses, said, "Had you wished, you could have taken a wage for it." In the town, Khidr repaired a collapsing wall without seeking compensation, even though the people refused to offer him any hospitality. Musa questioned why Khidr didn't ask for payment, reflecting his human perspective on fairness and reciprocity. This act exemplifies selfless service, and the fulfilling of divine purpose without expecting worldly rewards. This verse highlights the importance of sincerely serving others, even in the face of ingratitude. Leadership is not about seeking recognition or rewards. It is about fulfilling one's responsibilities with integrity. Khidr's actions remind world leaders to stay focused on their mission while trusting in the greater purpose transcends immediate gains or validations. Verse 78. He, al-Khidr, said, "This is the parting between you and me. Now I shall inform you about the interpretation of what you could not bear patiently." Khidr declares the end of their companionship, promising to explain the wisdom behind his actions. This separation marks a turning point, as Musa's journey with Khidr concludes, leaving him with lessons in patience, trust, and divine wisdom. This moment illustrates the importance of knowing when to part ways and allowing others to continue their journeys independently. Leadership involves imparting lessons and guidance, but there comes a time when individuals must chart their own paths. Khidr's parting words highlight the importance of reflection and the understanding that true wisdom often emerges after experiences are processed. Verse 79. As for the boat, it belonged to some poor people working at sea. I wanted to make it defective, for ahead of them was a king coming to seize every serviceable boat by force. So Khidr explains that the hole in the boat was meant to protect it from being seized by a tyrannical king. This revelation transforms an apparent harm into an act of mercy and foresight. It underscores the divine wisdom that sees beyond the immediate circumstances to protect and preserve in unexpected ways. This serves as a powerful reminder that difficult decisions often have greater purposes. Deliberately creating a flaw to prevent greater harm teaches leaders to think strategically and prioritize long-term benefits over short-term appearances. Wisdom lies in recognizing that what seems detrimental may ultimately be protective. So that poor family who owned the boat would have lost their boat to a king who was stealing all the boats because it had a hole in it, a hole that would be easy for them to repair. Once the king had seized all the other boats, they would have repaired their boats and they can carry on fishing and looking after their family. Verse 80. As for the young boy, his parents were believers, and we feared he would trouble them with rebellion and disbelief. The boy was killed to prevent him from leading his devout parents into rebellion and disbelief. This seemingly harsh act is revealed as a mercy, safeguarding their faith and the well-being of the family. It highlights the divine perspective that prioritizes ultimate outcomes over immediate emotions. But this must be kept in mind that Khidr performed such acts due to his knowledge bestowed by Allah. No human being is allowed to perform such acts. This verse illustrates the importance of making challenging decisions that prioritize the greater good. Leadership often involves making choices that may be painful in the short term, but ultimately safeguard the community's values and mission. It emphasizes moral courage and the ability to look beyond immediate reactions to consider the long-term consequences. Verse 81. So we desired that their Lord would give them in exchange a better one after him in purity and closer in mercy. Allah's mercy is evident as he promises to replace the boy with a child who will be purer and more compassionate. This divine intervention highlights the principle of compensation, where apparent losses are replaced with greater blessings. This serves as a lesson in resilience and faith, even when confronted with losses or setbacks. Leaders must trust in the divine process, recognizing that each challenge contains a promise of eventual growth and improvement. True leadership involves nurturing hope and reminding followers of the greater good that awaits them. Verse 82. As for the wall, it belonged to two orphan boys in the town, and under it was a treasure belonging to them. And their father was a righteous man. So your Lord desired that they should reach maturity, and take out their treasure themselves. This was your Lord's kindness, and I did not do it of my own accord. This is the interpretation of what you could not bear patiently. The collapsing wall concealed a treasure meant for the two orphan boys. By repairing it, Khidr ensured that their inheritance would be protected until they reached maturity. This act reflects the fulfillment of divine mercy and justice, honoring their father's righteous legacy. This verse emphasizes the importance of safeguarding the future of the vulnerable. Leadership involves thinking beyond the immediate, ensuring that today's actions secure the well-being of future generations. It also teaches that acts of service, even if unseen or unacknowledged, carry profound significance when aligned with higher principles. I hope you found that interesting and useful. This is the book again, Life and Leadership Lessons from Surah al-Kahf by Professor Dr Hassan Mohi-ud-Din Qadri, which just came out into print this year. If you find these podcasts and my content useful and beneficial, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And also there is a Buy Me a Coffee link on my social media channels. If you could subscribe to that and sponsor it, even for just a few pounds or a few dollars a month, this will help me to focus on producing content and improving the content I produce and ensuring that it remains free for people to benefit from. And you will have the reward of doing that if you sponsor it and support it, which is a tremendous reward and something which is highly commended in the Quran. May Allah bless you all. I wish you have a wonderful weekend. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.